Hello everyone, thanks for joining my video. This video will be about how to install Pinode on a Windows 10 home machine. I'm currently running a Windows 10 Pro, however I'm going to take all the steps that is necessary to install it on a Windows 10 home. So first thing first, you need to make sure that you install the Pinode on your laptop, and basically you go through the process of setting up the app. It's pretty simple. All you have to do in the beginning, it will ask you for your Node code, and then you enter it on your phone app, and then you get access here. Next, here you will see this Node icon. You'll click on it, continue, and then you'll get to the detailed instruction on how to install Docker and then open up ports on your router. So let's dive into this step. So instead of me downloading the Docker from this button, which is for Windows 10 Pro, I'm gonna click on the download Docker toolbox. But first thing first, in order for you to check to see which version of Windows you're running, all you have to do is to open up a file explorer, and then from here on this PC, right click and go properties. At this point, at the very top, you'll see that it shows my Windows version. Right now it shows Windows 10 Pro because I'm running Windows 10, but for you, if you're running Windows Home, this would be Windows Home. Alright, so let's go back to the app. If I click on download Docker toolbox, the link takes you to this page, which is a Docker installation user guide page. So let's go to Docker desktop for Windows here. From the left menu, you'll see the install Docker desktop on Windows Home. So it seems like one of the first step here, it says download from Docker Hub. So I'm just going to open this in a new tab, get it ready. This is the Docker Hub, but before we go ahead and install this stable version of the Docker, we need some prerequisites for our machine. So let's go through the manual here. What to know before you install: system requirement, Windows 10 home machine must meet the following requirement. So one of the first things that it says is install Windows 10 version 2004 or higher. So currently I've already updated my Windows machine. The way you can do it, you go to the update, and basically you click on check for update. But one thing you need to remember is the version that is required for that Docker toolbox is an update that it's available for a beta for the insider program. So the way you can see your version is by clicking on OS build info. Even though that you see that your Windows is up to date, click on the OS build info and make sure here you have the version 2004, but more importantly, your OS build should be 19.041.264. So in order to get this version, you need to sign up for Insider program. So the way that you can do it is from your search bar, type in Insider, and you'll see Windows Insider program settings. Navigate here. Do a get started. I've already done this once, and then I disabled my insider just for the purpose of the video, so I can show you what it will do when you do get a start. It will basically ask you to link it to your account. In my case, it's my Hotmail account. I click sign in. All right. And then it will give you three options. That the slow recommended one is basically what Insider program is. Microsoft will send you updates faster than the updates are before the updates become available for public. So the slow is basically the number of updates they will send you is basically twice a month. And as you go to the fast version, they send you more frequent update. Normally, like when you go fast, release preview, it sometimes, the updates have bugs and breaks your machine. There's a lot of cases that on the slow, there might be issue, but the bug release already be out, so you miss it out. But since it's recommended on the slow, I'm just gonna select the slow version. I'm gonna confirm. And basically at this step, you gotta restart your machine to basically fully sign up with the Insider program. Make sure you restart your machine, and at that point, the machine is gonna start getting the new updates. So again, make sure you reboot your machine, and after you do that, go back to your Windows update and just check for updates and try multiple times and get as many as updates. Make sure you don't just skip this step, because if you skip, you can't go forward and continue with the installation of the Docker. You might be able to install some steps, but at the end of the day, it won't, your Docker won't start properly. So every time you check update and you see it says you're up to date, make sure you check your OS build. Make sure it's on 2004 19041 version. So since mine is already at that version, I'm not gonna reboot and I'm just gonna continue here. So one of the second steps, it says enable the WSL2 feature, and this is the instruction, and the rest of it is just hardware requirement, and then at the end there's a Linux kernel update package. Alright, so I'm just gonna open up these pages here. So we got the Docker page open at the top. I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna hold Control, open that tab here, Windows Subsystem for Linux installation. Go back here, Linux kernel update package here. Alright, what's included in the installer? Install Docker on Windows 10 Home, and it doesn't seem to be there is anything else. So when you install those few updates and kernels, when you start installing the Docker, it will actually give you a checkbox that then you can select WSL2. And if any of those steps are done wrong, you won't get that checkbox, and then for that reason nothing is gonna work after that. You won't be able to install it. So we're gonna skip this Docker installation since we need the two other prerequisites here. So we're gonna start Windows Subsystem, open PowerShell as a system administrator. So we're gonna go to the start menu, search for PowerShell. I normally don't use the Windows PowerShell. I use PowerShell ISC, which basically it just saves my codes here. So I'm gonna load this one. Have to screen that one. I'm gonna bring this to the other side. I don't need this section. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this since this is one of the first step. So paste it here. All right. Go to the end, hit enter. Just gonna do multiple enter, so I just get multiple lines here. Gonna select the first piece. One thing you gotta make sure is you have to run this as an administrator. Then you have these two execute buttons here. If you hover over it, says run selection, when it says run a script. So if you have multiple script here and you click on this, it's gonna run all of them. So I'll recommend to just select the line, click here and run the selection. So alright, so it seems like it's successfully completed. So to only install the WSL, you should now restart your machine and move on to install your Linux distribution of your choice. Okay, so it seems like there is more steps to this one. So again, I'm gonna click on this. This is again prerequisites here, so I'm gonna just move it over here. So this was my page, install your Linux distribution, otherwise wait and restore, then move more about WSL. So that's just a comparison between the WSL 1 and 2. I'm gonna close that one, go back, update WSL. Okay, so let's go and install this one. So it says enable WSL2 feature. Okay, so the first step we copied this one. Now we're just gonna go to this step and we're gonna copy the second one. So we added our enter lines here, break lines. I'm gonna select this line again. I'm gonna execute the selection. Perfect. So make sure guys, make sure after you do the first step, that it was this step, make sure that you restart your machine. Again, I've already done the installation of the first one time, so I won't be restarting it for the sake of the video. Now scrolling down, we've already done this. Again, restart your machine, set the WSL2 as your default version. Run the following command PowerShell. Okay, let's try this, or better we copy it from here. Execute this step. Okay. So it says WSL2 requires an update to its kernel component to update from WSL1, completely depending on the size of your integration. Okay, now this step is install your Linux distribution of choice. So we have to go to Microsoft Store. Alright, so I guess the better is at the bottom of the page here. There was some links, sorry, in this one, there was some links that it was pointing you directly to the distribution, Linux distribution here. So I normally just select Ubuntu LTS. So let's just select this one. Get. Install. I'm gonna give it a few seconds. So while that's downloading, well, that's installing, we're gonna go back here. So install your distribution. That's installing. From the distribution page, select get. Set up a new distribution. Console will pop up. Wait a minute. It compresses the file. You will then need to create a user account and password here. Set the distribution version. Okay. So, alright. So let's wait for the store to finish the installation. It's still downloading. $24. So you see there's multiple places that it reference to the Windows build version 19.041 or higher. A few more seconds here. It's actually almost half a gig here in size. Alright. I guess it doesn't hurt that if I just run this will show you your WSL version. Mine might already give me a version because I already had it previously installed. So you see I already had the 18.04, but you'll see that that's a stopped state. So we're just gonna wait for the new one to install. Not sure why my internet speed dropped. Alright, perfect. So it seems like it's done. I'm gonna click launch. You gotta make sure that you click launch. So at this stage it's finishing installation. It's already downloaded everything from the store. Alright, so this is step. Now it's finished, it's in the middle of the installation. It's asking for the user account. As you can see here, it says it does not need to match with your Windows username. So I'm just gonna pick a random username, admin. It says it already exists, so let's just pick something here. And then the password. It doesn't show you the password here, but it is actually recording the password. You need to retype it again. So password successfully updated. You just give it a few seconds. Installation completed. Just let it do its thing until it finishes. Don't close the screen. There you go. Perfect. Just gonna do an exit there. Alright, perfect. So we're done with this. Alright, so let's go back to the page here. So we don't need this store anymore because we got the Ubuntu here. Set up the distribution. It asked us for username. We finished that one. So let's get a WSL version again here. So just gonna type it here. Let's get a version. Alright, so you see now I have two versions here. The next step here says PowerShell list verbose. So let's copy that one. It's probably gonna give me the same thing. It's listing all the versions that I have. Here it says to set a distribution to be backed by either version of the WSL. Run this one, distribution name, and the version. To make sure, replace the distribution name with the actual name of your distribution and the version number. Additionally, you want to make the WSL your default. So let's try this, see what happens here. Requires an update to its kernel. Alright, so let's copy this one. So it says your distribution name. So let's grab this one. Ubuntu hyphen distribution name. We're gonna remove this part. Hyphen 20.04. And it says version number. See, our version is 1. So let's grab this to see if it works. So it says the distribution is already the requested version. Alright. So let's try to see if 2 works. Version product, this may take a few minutes. WSL requires an update to its kernel components. Okay, so it's telling us that we need to update the kernel before we can set it up to version 2. If you can recall, I believe we had something here, updating WSL to Linux, and we grabbed it from the initial page, I believe. Yeah, so you see, download the install Linux kernel update package, and we opened it up. It was same as this last page that we had it initially opened. So let's go back here and see what we need to do. So again, it says please download the latest WSL Linux kernel. Let's go to that screen. Alright, so it's giving me a download file. Save. So it seems like it doesn't allow us to go to the version 2 unless we download this Linux kernel update package. I'm not sure why it's not by default. You know, it's going to version 2 and it needs a separate update package, but you know, let's just follow the documentation here. Just 6 more minutes, 6 more seconds. Alright, so let's go to our download folder while that's finishing up the scan. Alright, so this is our download, this is our update. Okay, the update is finished. Again, I'm just gonna get a list again. Alright, same as before. Let's try this one more time. Okay, so you see this time that I ran it, now it's not again giving me that WSL requires an update to its kernel. Now it's actually trying to set the version to 2. Just gonna give it a few seconds to do its thing. And at the same time, let's review the documentation. Install the Linux kernel update package. So we don't need this, we already installed the update package. Alright, so we were at this stage, we were keep trying to put the Ubuntu 20.04 to the version 2, but it wasn't successful. So we went ahead, we downloaded the update package, and now that it has the update package, we tried it again, and now it's actually trying to set the version as a version 2 instead of 1. So now basically what it's doing is switching the version from 1 to 2, but after that, you know, we need to make that a default, right? So that's what this command is here. I believe after we flip it to the version 2, we need to copy this, and since in my case I have 2 versions, both are version 1, and then later on one of them gonna be version 2, I just need to run this to make that the default one. So the Docker actually knows to use that version. And you know, if you noticed, I believe part of the documentation was saying in order to get the Docker you need the WSL2, so you have to go with that step. You can't just, you know, stick with the version 1. So guys, that's why I like to use the PowerShell ISE, because then I can have all my commands here instead of like just opening up PowerShell and typing it in this blue screen. You know, here I can just run them multiple times here, and it's easy to use. So I recommend you guys also use the PowerShell ISE. And you know, I can still tell that this is running by looking at this stop operation piece. Basically when this ends, this stop operation gonna disappear, and the 2 green play buttons gonna turn green again instead of, you know, gray. So while that's doing, that's trying to switch the version, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, from the Docker screen, which we grabbed it from the initial page, here there's a button that takes you to the Docker Hub page. I'm gonna go ahead and download the stable version of the Docker desktop, so we have it ready for when that finishes the installation, the switch of the versions. Alright guys, so as you can see here, the version is now changed from 1 to 2. It was successful. It says conversion completed. So let's again get a list view of all of our basically WSLs, and let's see, you know, what are the versions again. So as you can see now, now one of these versions here is converted to 2, and that's the one that's Ubuntu 20.04. So now we're going to run the WSL set default version 2 here. And you see there is no longer, we see that message that at the top was previously saying the WSL requires an update. So basically this is it here. This is completed. On the right side we got the Docker desktop downloaded. It finished the download. Now I believe it's ready for us to basically install the Docker. So we're gonna go ahead, go here again, File Explorer, download folder. Gonna double click on Docker installation file. You still see that, you know, it doesn't say the Docker installed or daemon is running. Okay, we're gonna get Docker downloaded here. It's basically the Docker installation. What it's gonna do is basically it first downloads it, unpacks the files, and then it installs it. So here's the feature. So normally in a regular situation, when you install it on a Windows 10 Pro, you don't get the option to do a enable WSL2. But since right now we installed all the update packages and all the kernels, and we switch the version 1 to version 2, now you get this option. And this is the option basically that allows you to install Docker on a Windows Home machine. So you have to make sure that you have this checkbox checked, and basically at this point you're gonna click OK and download the software. Alright, so at this point Docker finished unpacking the package. It finished the installation for all the files contained in those packages, and you see that it says installation successful. So the next step, we just need to close Docker here, X out from here, and then if you go to your taskbar, we can go here to check to see whether the Docker is running here or not. We don't see the icon, so I'm gonna go ahead and double click on Docker desktop to run it. So at this point, basically the first error message that says Docker has not been found, it should go away, and as soon as you run the Docker desktop, then it should start. Basically the second error message at the bottom should disappear as well. So as you can see here, the Docker, it says Docker is starting. So we're just gonna wait a few seconds here and give it some time to start. Okay, at the same time I'm just going to try to refresh, reload the page, see what's the message here. It hasn't changed. There you go. If I hover over, it says Docker desktop is running. Okay, we'll do a skip tutorial. Okay, we got the green light here and it says running. And if you go to the setting here in this menu, you'll see that this option is enabled. Right, and that's basically what's allowing you to run Docker on Windows Home. So let's do another reload. Try to exit. There you go. So I tried a few reload, it didn't work, so I simply just closed the Docker, closed the Pi